Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. Mankind loves to defend his actions. We think that if we do good, we should receive good, and if we do bad, we should receive bad. And in general, this kind of thinking is true. If we obey the law of the land, generally speaking, the government leaves us alone, and we get to work, make money, and spend that money how we wish. And of course, if we disobey the law, we're arrested, put on trial, and when found guilty, thrown in jail for a period of time. But have you ever heard the phrase, "no good deed goes unpunished"? This phrase means that many times we're punished even when we do good because the person we did good to doesn't view our actions as good, at least to them. Suffering is often seen in these terms. Why do the righteous suffer? They don't deserve it. Thinking this, though, forgets that not all suffering is punishment for sin. Some simply is because we live in a sinful world, is done at the hands of evil people and not God, but God uses that suffering to build up our faith and to prove to us that we can serve Him in faith even if we have to endure through suffering. Here at the end of Job 31, Job finishes the marathon of speeches by him and his friends by saying that if he deserved punishment, he would not argue with God for causing it. Let's see how he finishes this argument. So if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Job chapter 31. We're going to be reading from verses 29 to 40. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Job chapter 31, beginning at verse 29. If I have rejoiced at the destruction of him who hated me, or lifted myself up when evil found him, indeed, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for a curse on his soul. If a man of my tent have not said, who is there that has not been satisfied with his meat? But no sojourner had to lodge in the street, for I have opened my doors to the traveler. If I have covered my transgressions as Adam, by hiding my iniquity in my bosom, because I feared the great multitude, and dreaded the contempt of families, so that I kept silence, and did not go out to the door, oh, that I had one to hear me! Here is my mark. Oh, that the Almighty would answer me, that my prosecutor had written a book. Surely I would carry it on my shoulder and bind it on me like a crown. I would declare to him the number of my steps. Like a prince I would approach him. If my land cries out against me, and if its furrows weep together, if I have eaten its fruit without money, or caused its owners to lose their lives, then let thistles grow instead of wheat, and weeds instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. Job is continuing to justify his life before suffering. Is Job wrong in what he says? As far as his actions go, meaning what he claims to be righteous deeds, no. Insofar as he views his suffering as punishment by God, yes. Job continues to justify himself by saying that he did not rejoice at the destruction of his enemies, nor did he lift himself up into a state of self-righteousness when evil was found in them. I believe that this is something that we as Christians need to be aware of. It is not wrong for us to seek justice for the evil committed by wicked people. However, we should not take so much glee when the wicked require punishment, for even wicked people can come to God if they would obey Jesus Christ in faith. We should not become self-righteous when evil is exposed in others, but not in us, thinking ourselves as better than others. It is sad that sometimes when people die, I see in my social media feeds Christians almost celebrating that now that some wicked person or false teacher knows their evil deeds in the future in hell that is to come for them. We should be mourning for the condition of their soul and doubling our efforts to teach others so that others do not have to endure such a calamity. Job said that if he did those things, he would be deserving of punishment. But alas, he did not do those things. Nor did he or the people employed by him not seek to satisfy the poor who had no food. He again helped them as he had opportunity. Job even said that he didn't do that when he did sin, he did not seek to hide it like Adam did in the garden. For had he done so, he would have been afraid of being found out when he went out into public and charged with such sin. Instead, he repented of those sins, confessed them to God, and offered sacrifices for those sins. Now, in reading some of the commentaries on this chapter, some note that Adam could be translated as man, because that is what Adam means. meaning that instead of speaking of how Adam tried to hide his sins from God by hiding from God's presence, Job is speaking more generally about how man tends to try and cover up his sins so that they aren't found out. And while it is true that Adam can be translated this way, to think that Job would not have had knowledge of Adam and thus be referring to him is a stretch. Yes, Job wouldn't have had the book of Genesis, but where would he, and the ancients for that matter, have gotten the idea of sacrifices to God except from the example of Abel, Adam's child? Oral traditions existed, and even though many were corrupted by men in creating their idolatry, they still contain some truth, as in their accounts of the flood and the Tower of Babel. I do believe that Job believed in the existence of Adam, as even some of his thinking appears to have derived from how God dealt with man from the beginning. Whatever way one wants to translate this verse, though, doesn't change what it says, for mankind often wants to hide their sins, including Adam, but not Job. Job was righteous. He wanted to remain righteous, so he repented of his sins. Job, however, again wished that his prosecutor would have written down their accusations in a book, so that when he was tried before God, Job could refute actual charges and be able to show his righteousness. God would surely, as a righteous judge, declare him righteous, and that verdict could be worn like a crown by Job, knowing that he had been vindicated by God. If Job had committed sin, he said he deserved to be punished. However, if he was righteous, he deserved to be vindicated. Yes, Job is wrong in thinking his suffering is punishment, but he is not wrong that he was a righteous man. Not because of his deeds, but because of his faith, a faith that was active because of his deeds. Thus ends the words of Job. It has taken us since chapter 3 to be able to say this, but the speeches by Job and his friends are over. But that doesn't mean all the speeches are over. For in chapter 32, we have 6 chapters of a speech by a man we hadn't met before, Elihu. Who is this man, and what does he have to say? We'll find that out, beginning the Lord willing in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. We will be taking our 2-week spring break and will return, the Lord willing, on Tuesday, June 9th, 2025. When we return, we'll take up with Job 32, verses 1 to 9. We hope that you'll come back and join us in that discussion when we will continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.